The shul has such beautiful representation. And I have a picture with David Cohen's grandson at the weddings. I thought that's very cute. He represented you. How do you like that? Okay, we are on Memvav Amanal. We are on 46A. And Adam, if you want to send that to the group that we're on, the last thing we're saying is the 46A. Let's see what yeah, so let's see what we're up to. A3 exactly. The last up to Rav Nachman by Yitzchak Masi LeBehedya. The last few lines of the page. Rav Nachman by Yitzchak Mati LeBehedya Amar Rav Kol Shiva Mitzvah Lulav. Meaning, Rav, we didn't have Rav making a statement openly regarding Lulav earlier. We only deduced the opinion of Rav from the law of Hanukkah, which we said that Hanukkah was a rabbinic law. And he said that you have to go ahead. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning, Boker Tov.
Rabbi, I'm sorry I missed last night. I wasn't done till 10 o'clock at night. And then to get to Brooklyn, it would have been too late for me. So,
okay,
sorry.
No problem. Listen, we should share other smachot together, Mark.
Amen. Amen. Thank you.
And the last thing we said was Rav. We saw that Rav. You see, a lot of times what the Gemara does is a rabbi makes a statement by a certain law, and then the Gemara connects the dots and says, you know what, the rabbi said that by that law, and therefore we could apply it over here. So that's what the Gemara said yesterday. And we welcome back. Max. Adam. I'm sorry, Max was here yesterday. Welcome back, Adam. The Gemara says that Rav said about Hanukkah that you say a bracha by the mitzvah of Hanukkah, and even though Hanukkah is a rabbinic law, so the Gemara says if Hanukkah is a rabbinic law, you say bracha. So too, the Gemara inferred, if that's the right, that Rav would also hold by Lulav, day 2 to day 7, which is a rabbinic law outside the Mikdash, they're both equal, they're both rabbinic law. So we're going to learn the fact that he went on record by Hanukkah. We're going to figure out, and we're going to apply that to Lulav, day 2 to day 7. But now the Gemara says we found that Rav actually made a statement directly, specifically, and focused on Lulav itself. So that's a much stronger opinion of Rav when it's not just deduced from something, because sometimes you could say maybe you might think you connected that, maybe there's a distinction between one mitzvah and another mitzvah, right? You might want to say, Hanukkah, maybe that miracle, as we saw, there's something unique about Hanukkah. There's Pasumei Nisa, you have to publicize the miracle a certain way, which you don't have that idea by Lulav. So you might say, maybe, it's not 100%. You might question the proof from Hanukkah, perhaps to Lulav. But now that we see on record that Rav actually spoke regarding the subject of Lulav itself, so now there's no question regarding what Rav's opinion would be by Lulav. It's not just something that you want to connect the dots and infer, but rather you don't have to refer it when he says it openly. You only have to try to understand something. When someone does not speak just openly about a matter, then you try to figure out what he holds on the matter. But when he speaks obviously on the matter directly, so now you know clearly, without a shadow of a doubt, what his opinion is. Yes. No, so Richard, very good. Before the Gemara, because that was a discussion in the Beit Midrash, before the Gemara found that Rav was on record, that someone comes to report that Rav even spoke about Lulav. So they in the Beit Midrash they said, we can learn it. Right. They were analyzing. We can learn that from Hanukkah. But now that's what the Gemara says. He has it openly. Rav's opinion. Amar Rav, Kol Shiva, all 7 days of the holiday of Sukkot, mitzvah lulav. The mitzvah requires a separate bracha on each and every of the 7 days. Okay, Tana Rabbanan. Now the Gemara continues regarding the making of a sukkah. We're talking about the making of a sukkah. the brachot of the sukkah, shechianu, and so on and so forth. Tana Rabbanan. Ha'oseh sukkah la'atzmo. Someone who makes a sukkah for himself, we now turn to page 46A4. If you make a sukkah for yourself, not that you're going ahead and you're setting up a sukkah for somebody else, you're making it for your use, for your personal use, your family use. Omer shechianu v'kimanu v'giyonu lazman hazeh. So when you make the sukkah, the Gemara says that you say the bracha upon the completion of the building of the sukkah. This preparation of the sukkah, even though the holiday didn't come yet, you made the sukkah before the holiday. Okay, so Nathan, so this is independent of the Shechianu Sukkah. The night of Sukkah, the Shechianu was about the holiday of Sukkot, and it's hard to imagine that because we know in practice we say both the Shechianu at night and we say Shechianu by day on the Lulav, right? So it would seem there's two different mitzvot kicking in. But what happened here is they would say the Shechianu earlier than we do in practice, meaning instead of saying, what did you say? Right. So let's go back and let's answer Nathan's question again. I'm sorry, I was talking about the lulav. We say a separate shechianu in the morning, but our Gemara is talking about the sukkah. Now we have to address Nathan's question. The Gemara says in the old days, at least the opinion of the Gemara here was, you would with the shechianu the first night of Sukkot, you would say shechianu for the sitting in a sukkah. Now here, the Gemara says you would say actually the shechianu when you build the sukkah. When you build the sukkah, you say shechianu, and then the Nathan's question would be a very good question. Once you made a shechianu on the building of sukkah, would you need to make a new shechianu on the first night? Would we say there's a separate shechianu for the holiday of Sukkot, the Yom Tov of Sukkot, meaning independent of the mitzvah of Sukkah? Just like you have two shechianus, the night of Sukkot we say shechianu, and the morning we say a separate shechianu for the mitzvah of Lulav. Would we say a separate shechianu for the sitting of the Sukkah, or the mitzvah of Sukkah which you built before the holiday, and a separate shechianu for the Yom Tov itself? That's a good question. That would have to be looked into more. But you hear his question. You have two different reasons why you might be able to say a separate shechianu the night of Sukkot, because the night of Sukkot, independent of the mitzvah of Sukkah, deserves a shechianu. What's the proof? Shavuot. Look at the holiday of Shavuot. Look at the holiday of Shavuot, or the holiday of Pesach. What do we do with the holiday of Sukkot, probably Pesach? We say it. Let's take Shavuot for a second. We say shechianu at Kiddush. There's no special mitzvah that we're doing in the night of Shavuot, but we still have a requirement to say shechianu because of the holiday itself. The holiday, independent of any mitzvah that comes with the holiday. So that's a good question. So your question is regarding we don't make a bracha shechianu on the you see when we eat matzah, right? When we eat matzah, what do? We say two brachot when we eat the matzah. We say Asher kishon motzi lechem min haaretz, and then we say Asher kishon mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat matzah. We don't say a shechianu on the mitzvah of matzah. So you could also ask that question over there. Why don't we say the shechianu on the mitzvah of matzah? Is it that the shechianu of the kiddush covers the mitzvah matzah, or is it there's something else going on that maybe even though we have the mitzvah of matzah, but maybe there was a halacha of having matzah with the korban pesach, and then we don't have that today. We don't have the korban pesach, so maybe there was maybe they didn't feel to say the shechianu over there. But they obviously they're going to ask, yes. Right, very good. So that's another good idea. That shechianu is only instituted on a special simcha of something unique that we don't have. Maybe you're saying the fact is that we do eat matzah the rest of the year. It happens to be there's a new mitzvah that we have the night of Pesach that we don't have the whole year. You go the whole year without eating matzah, you didn't lose out on mitzvah. You go the night of Pesach without eating matzah, you have a mitzvah. But and like Tosfos pointed out, not every mitzvah gets a shechianu, right? You go ahead and you make you write a Megillah, a new mezuzah. You don't go ahead and make a shechianu. So it has to have certain level of simcha. So maybe that's a good point. Morning, Mark. So therefore, since you don't have that level of simcha, it's not something new that you haven't had. You had matzah. The only thing you haven't had is the mitzvah of matzah. So maybe that's a good answer why they didn't institute a shechianu for the mitzvah of matzah itself. You only have the bracha shek shem v'sivanu al achilat matzah. So the Gemara says we are on 46a4. So the Gemara says, when you make a sukkah for yourself, you say shechianu. And that's, by the way, in contrast to making it for somebody else. The level of sukkah, you could say, at the level of simcha, is much greater when you do it for yourself, even though we should all reach levels of feeling great simcha. But they didn't say that you should go ahead and say the bracha shechianu by making for the mitzvah when you make it for someone else to fulfill the mitzvah.
Because you're creating the making what's that or building the sukkah. That's
Of saying a bracha on the baking of the matzah. Right.
Which we don't do anyway.
Right, but like we said, you could be baking. You could be like Adam's answer applies to that also. We bake matzah. You can bake matzah all the year round. You don't really make a sukkah all year round. It's not the common. You're allowed to, but it's not the common thing that people will go ahead.
You're not supposed to eat matzah in 30 days before Pesach.
They're all different customs. Exactly when that begins. That custom is based.
Had your sukkah the whole year, didn't build it, it doesn't count. You need to have a new sukkah in 30 days. The same way that you stop eating matzah for 30 days, and now you're baking and eating new matzah specifically for Chag.
But you brought up a point. I just want to clarify something Nathan said. According to the Gemara, the law is there's the basic law. Erev Pesach, you can't have matzah in the morning. You want to have breakfast. Let's say this year Pesach comes out on a Monday night. So according to the Gemara, you can't have matzah Monday morning because you got to come into Pesach with some freshness, newness, looking forward, appetite because it's something new. Not that you just had it in the morning. Anything before Erev Pesach, anything before that morning of, that there are different customs. Some might be from 30 days before, some might be from the beginning of the month, whatever. Each different communities have you know the day of. That's the basic law of the Gemara, the Yerushalmi, that says you can't have, but some people take on even 30 days before. So the Gemara says, so if you go ahead and you make a sukkah for yourself, so there's no shechianu, that you say a shechianu, according to this, actually when at the time you built the sukkah, you built the sukkah Erev Yom Tov in the morning, you go ahead and you say the bracha. Now, if nichnas leisheva, but when it came to nighttime, and it's a night of Sukkot, the first night of Sukkot, then you make a different bracha. The bracha of what? Leishev basukkah. Baruch atah Hashem, Malkeinu Melech. It's precluding the moed, but the question is here in the Gemara, would you also say a second? That your question still remains. The Gemara says that you say a shechianu before when you build the sukkah Erev Yom Tov, and the night of Yom Tov you say the bracha leishev basukkah. The Gemara didn't say leishev and a shechianu again, so that might infer that you will not need a shechianu on the mitzvah sukkah, because the logic. What do you say? Because it only says that you'll say leishev basukkah, and so it says you say the bracha when the night of Sukkot, you're coming into the sukkah. So what do? You say the bracha of leishev basukkah. Now, im yochol lechadish b'davar. So here the Gemara, 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 so here the Gemara says, if you're going to go ahead, here, sorry, I skipped the line. Haita asuya vomedet. The sukkah was already made from before Yom Tov, and it's already made. You come into someone else made the sukkah. You didn't make the sukkah. The sukkah is already made. You go to a hotel, whatever it is, you call someone else out in the sukkah. They made the sukkah for you. Now, what about now? Do you make regarding you saying a shechianu on the sukkah before the holiday? Depends. So what does it say? If you're able to do something new for the sukkah, let's say the sukkah had only two walls, and you go ahead and you made the third wall, or you put some new schach in the sukkah, or some say if you fix the schach, as Mark say, or some say that some say it's enough just to put some decorations in the sukkah. So there's all different opinions exactly what you need to do that will qualify for you to good morning, that you'll be able to get a say the bracha now before the holiday of Shechiyanu on the sukkah. If you could fix something for the sukkah, you're actually making a difference in the sukkah. So then mevarech, then you say Shechiyanu. Then at that point you'll say Shechiyanu. Im lav, so here comes the issue. Im lav, but if you did not do anything, welcome, thank you for joining. If you did not add anything to the sukkah, now when are you going to say the Shechiyanu? At night of the sukkah, because there you're going to say the Shechiyanu. When you go into the sukkah to sit in the sukkah, so now you're going to fulfill the mitzvah of sukkah. So now at this point, you're going to go ahead and say the bracha Shechiyanu. You could not say the bracha Shechiyanu before the holiday because you did not do anything in the sukkah. Where are the books? There's one right over here. And Adam, there's more on the bottom. Should be in the bottom. Okay, the Gemara continues. Amar Rav Ashi. Now here comes what we do, exactly what we do. Amar Rav Ashi, there you'll get the letter tet from that shows you that's the halacha. Chazina leila Rav Kahana. I saw Rav Kahana, the kamalulukulu akosad the kiddusha. He said all the brachot, the bracha of Shechiyanu and Leishev, instead of saying the Shechiyanu when he built the sukkah, he said it on the cup of wine of kiddush, like we actually do in practice. We say we have the kiddush, even though you might have built a beautiful sukkah before the holiday. When do you say the Shechiyanu? By the kiddush. Now, what's his logic? Most probably, why do you do it on the cup of wine? Now, because when you do it over a cup of wine, you are lending elegance and honor to the bracha, and therefore, Motzei Shabbat, Saturday night, there's a mitzvah to do Borim Mor Ha'esh. There's a mitzvah to do Borim Mili B'Samim. Those mitzvot are independent of the Havdalah. What do I mean, the independent Havdalah? If let's say a person does not have a candle, you say Havdalah, and then you're going to get a candle later that night. Say Havdalah, and then later when you get the candle, you say Bracha Boim Reish on the candle. You don't have Samim. No, you try to get it. You're supposed to get it. Mark is looking at me, maybe. Rabbi, what do you mean? You got to do it all together. You're right. Mark, you're right. If I'm reading you right. You have to that's the mitzvah, to do it over the cup of wine. But if you don't have the candle, you don't have the Samim, you say the Havdalah, and then later that night, you get the Samim, get the candle, you say the Bracha, not on a cup of wine. Because they're not Havdalah. The mitzvah of Havdalah is separating the Shabbat, honoring the Shabbat when it leaves. So it's nothing to do with the Borim Reish. Adam HaRishon brought out fire Saturday night, so we commemorate that. There's nothing to do with that. And we lost the neshama, the extra neshama yetera, the extra soul that we had on Shabbat. We don't have it anymore. So we go in and we smell the salt, the samim, the spices. They're independent of Havdalah, but the rabbis say you're supposed to lechatchila do it over the cup of wine. So that's the same thing. The Shechiyanu is really independent. The Shechiyanu of building a sukkah is independent of the night, the first night. You could technically say the Shechiyanu already on the building of a sukkah. But we want to honor it by doing it over a cup of wine. So most probably the rabbi said, you know what, say Shechianu by itself without a cup of wine is not the same, and therefore most probably that's why the rabbis also say we do when we do have dalah, we say the psalmim with the cup of wine in front of us. We go ahead and we go ahead and born Eish with the cup of wine in front of us. That lends elegance, and you should know on a Torah level, kiddush, you can fulfill the mitzvah of kiddush without a cup of wine. Right? We do it on breads. If it doesn't have, people don't have Friday night, they like wine bread. Where some people might do a bread, but where did the wine come in? The rabbis instituted over wine that when you're sanctifying the Shabbat, when you talk about the Holy Shabbat, you should do it in a very special, right, David? Beautiful, honorable way. The Torah just says, Zachar et Yom HaShabbat l'kadsho. Remember the Shabbat, sanctify the Shabbat. Doesn't say anything about a cup of wine. It's most opinions told us it's a rabbinic law to have it over a cup of wine. Yes. If you say the Shechianu before, that's okay. I hear that, but the only question is, if you said a Shechianu on the mitzvah of Sukkah, but you didn't say. The question is, but there's an independent Shechianu that's observant for the holiday, but do we say this Shechianu covers that as well? Right? That's what it seems like. He'd rather do it at the night, put them all together. But here the emphasis was because he wanted to do it on the cup of wine, which would set. Now, yeah, but maybe he even if he would say, but maybe he wanted even any of them to be, all of them to be said on. He wanted on the cup of wine. Maybe even if you could do both, but maybe he preferred that it should be by itself. Now, no, we do not do it. So it's in the commentary over here, he says, today there are many people that don't make a sukkah for themselves. They don't build their own sukkah. Rather, many people sit, they go there in one sukkah for many people. Now, if they would say a Shechianu at the time of the building of the sukkah, so then there'll be many people that will not be saying, won't be able to say that it's Shechianu. Therefore, they relied on the minhag of Rav Kahana to say Shechianu at the time of Kiddush. No. Okay, let's continue in the Gemara. Tana Rabbanan, very interesting Gemara coming up. Hayil lefan of mitzvot harbei. You have many mitzvot in front of you. You have many mitzvot to perform. So what do you do when you have many mitzvot to perform? So do you go ahead and say a bracha for each mitzvah separately? Or do you say one general bracha? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu mitzvot v'tzivonu ala mitzvot. You commanded us on the mitzvot. Let's say you need to go ahead and you have to take a lulav, you have to put on your tefillin, you have to put on your talit. There's a lot of mitzvot coming on. You have a lot of mitzvot in front of you. You're going to put on your talit, you're going to put on your tefillin, and you're going to go ahead and let's say you have talit and tefillin in front of you. Or you have lulav, you go back to lulav, and you're going to go back. It's about to sit in the sukkah. So, do you say one bracha covers both, or do you say a separate bracha? So comes the Gemara. So the first opinion says, I know it looks like Mr. Batesh is saying, no, Ralph says no. Everybody gets his own bracha. I saw the shake of the head. You're correct. The first opinion is you can say one bracha for all. You go ahead and you say separate, right, David? A separate bracha of each mitzvah. Just like we have the issue with food. You have a lot of foods in front of you, right? Do you say one shahakol niyabed, everything was created with this word, and that would cover your pasta, your salad, your drink. That's your three brachot. Pasta's mizono, salad's hadama, the drink is shako. But what do we don't say one general bracha and then rather we say each thing you got to talk about, be more specific. By the way, in life, that's a you can have a nice musa lesson. A lesson is that when you're married, people are married, don't just say, compliment your wife. Yeah, everything was very good. Be specific on the compliment. The soup was good, the chicken was good, the dessert was good. Be much more specific. Don't just generalize. How do you like that, Mark? Don't just generalize the compliment. You like that? You have to go and be more specific. And I've heard, maybe my wife saying this idea, not from the Gemara, but she says that when you be specific on your compliment, it's much more meaningful to someone than when you just go ahead and just give a general compliment. So it's just a point, a marriage tip. Okay, so the Gemara says, Amar Rav Zera, Vitem Rav Chanina bar Papa. So what's the law? We have a braita. We have two different opinions. You have many mitzvot in front of you. Do you just say one bracha and one bracha covers it all? Or do you say a specific bracha for each and every mitzvah? Remember, the idea of the bracha and the mitzvah is a rabbinic law. It's a rabbinic law to say a bracha before you perform a mitzvah. So now I'm doing many mitzvot. Would the rabbi just say one bracha or not? Or do you say each one specific? So comes the Gemara and says, what's the halacha? Amar Zera Matim Rav Chanina, Hilchot Rabbi Yehuda. The halacha like Rabbi Yehuda, you say a separate bracha on each and every thing. Now, what's the source for it? My timer. What is the reason for Rabbi Yehuda? Why does Rabbi Yehuda? Why is he? We don't like to say, we extra when it comes to brachot. We say brachot that we need to say. If we don't need to say it, well, it's you don't say extra brachot. So why is it? What is compelling him that he goes ahead and he fails? That you have to go ahead and say a separate bracha for each mitzvah that you're performing. The tziv, there's a pasuk in Tehillim. Baruch Hashem, you say Baruch Hashem, bless you Hashem. We're thanking Hashem yom yom. We're thanking Hashem every day. Every day, daytime. So it means every day comes the day we go in and we thank Hashem. So the Gemara said, is it that we only bless Hashem by daytime? You should bless God by day. What about blessing God at night? Recognizing again, you're not. But bless God. The word Baruch Atah Hashem. When we say a bracha, what does it mean? Blessed are you? It doesn't. We're not blessing God. God doesn't need our blessing. We need His blessing. We're saying He is the source of blessing. Baruch Atah Hashem. Blessed are you, Hashem. And some explain it means you are the source of the blessing. You are the one who gives blessing. Every day, when it says Baruch Hashem Yom Yom, it means every day Tein Lo Me'ein Berchotav. You should go ahead and give a specific bracha, recognition to Hashem for what He's doing to you. On Shabbat, you give a bracha about the Shabbat. Yom Tov, Yom Tov. So every day you're supposed to thank Hashem. Because today is a Shabbat, we're gonna give a bracha that's going to talk about Shabbat. We're not going to just talk about the regular brachot that we say during the weekdays. The midah is going to be different. It's going to be a different bracha. We talk about the difference, the taste, what today is. Talk about today. Baruch Hashem Yom Yom. Today is Yom Tov. I'm going to thank Hashem for the Yom Tov. Today is Shabbat. I'm going to thank Hashem for Shabbat. Baruch Atah Hashem Mekadesh Shabbat. Yom Tov Mekadesh Yisrael Vazmanim. We have different brachot for different time periods. We don't just say blessed, the same blessing, one general blessing. So to Hachinami, b'chol davar, the same way we have to each holiday, we have to go ahead and recognize and be specific in our thanks. So too, also when it comes to brachot on mitzvot, on a mitzvah, you have to say a separate bracha for each mitzvah that you perform. Hachinami, b'chol davar, tein lo me'ein berchotav. Give a thank you, a recognition to Hashem for that specific mitzvah that we are doing. And it's interesting that me'ein berchotav, to recognize that each mitzvah is a bracha. It's a bracha that God gave to us to give us this mitzvah. See the language of the Gemara? The Gemara is talking about mitzvot. When you have many mitzvot, it says you should give to Hashem me'ein berchotav. Similar talk about the bracha that He gave to you. So that's so meaning every mitzvah is a great bracha that Hashem gives to us. Rav Zera, we just spoke about Rav Zera, so now that's the style of the Gemara we've established. When the Gemara brings in a rabbi, so then they as they learned by heart, so they would like to group the many different statements that rabbi said, even though it has nothing to do with the last statement that he said. It's just different statements this rabbi went on record that he said. And obviously what he said was was very well publicized and known. What did Rav Zera say in the name of Rav Chanina Papa? Bo'ei, come and see, Shalo ki midat HaKadosh Baruch Hu midat basav adam. That when the way God acts in spiritual matters is different than the way things act in physical matters. How people act. Midat basav adam kach. When it comes to people, klei reikon. Now we're turning the page. If you have, now we're on Menvav of a bed. Mazel tov, mabruk. 46b. If you have an empty utensil, how do things work in the physical world? The physical world, physical matters, if you have an empty utensil, an empty cup, so marzik, that empty cup can hold something. You could put something into the empty cup, right? If the cup, if it's malay, if it's a full cup, you want to pour something more into the full cup, it can't contain it. But the cup is limited, which shows you a little bit about the physical has limitations. And therefore, if the cup, you have a 7-ounce cup, you fill the cup up to the top. If it's full, you can't put anything in. However, when it comes to spirituality, it's the opposite. How spirituality works? Malay, a person who is full, a person who has a lot of Torah in him, a person who learns a lot of Torah, so he has so much, the cup is full, but he has room for, what happens is, Malay, so what happens, he's able malzik. You go ahead and he continue to more holiness, more spirituality. The person who has, the more you have spirituality, the more you want, the more you grow, the more room is for you to become for you. However, Rekam, but a person who is empty, a person who is empty, who doesn't not interested in Torah, a person, to that person ain't a marzik. Now the Torah doesn't really fill the person up. Ain't a marzik. So how do they? So the way they translate it over here is that he's not, the spirit, the more a guy who's empty, you try to tell him something spiritual, it's very hard for him to absorb that spiritual lesson because he's so far from it. He's not into it. So it's hard for him to grasp it, to understand it, and to continue. It seems much more difficult. It's much more difficult for him to absorb that new idea. So let's see how in the art school over here, it says on number 1. See, they say a person, an empty vessel, meaning a person who's they say is devoid of Torah, cannot hold things of spiritual nature. So what does that mean? They cannot hold, and the Gemara says, look what the Gemara says. Shenema, and the Gemara brings a proof. Shenema. V'haya im shamoa. If, what do we say in the Shema? V'haya im shamoa, this is another pasuk. V'haya im shamoa tishma. The pasuk says, if you will hear, you shall hear. What does that mean? If you hear, you shall hear. That sounds very Ah, very.
Torah, you have absorption capacity, and if your emptiness lacks absorption capacity, it doesn't matter how much you pour in it, nothing will be retained.
Very good. So that's the v'hayim shamoa. If you hear, meaning you're a person who's accustomed to hearing, to learning, to growing, then tishma. Then you will go ahead and you will hear another time. You will learn more. And then you will be able to learn more and grow. But the imlav, but if you're a person who's you don't bother to listen when you're young, it's going to be very hard for you to grasp new teachings when you're old. It's because you're so because the person is empty. A person who's empty. Good morning. Thank you very much. A person who's empty, it's hard to now you want to fill it up. But the more person learned, the more he could grow. Okay, I want to wish everyone a beautiful day. We should always fill ourselves up, and the more we fill ourselves up with Torah, we're going to have more room to grow. But the people who are empty, who haven't filled themselves up with Torah, now you want to pour something in. They don't. That's hard for them to get it. We have to fill them up, then they'll be able to continue to grow. Have everyone a great day. Thank you all for coming. All the best, everybody. Thank you.